It's my understanding that they had jail cells in the basement of the Pitkin County Courthouse at the time. Is that correct?
Yeah, at the time, the jail was in the basement of the courthouse, which was built around 1890. It was basically a prefabricated steel cube. It was steel on steel. It was 6 panels of steel. Steel floor, steel walls, steel ceiling. Right. And there were 5 cells, 5 bunks that were built into the steel framework.
Okay.
And in those years, the late 70s, we often had up to 20 prisoners sleeping like cordwood on the floor. Took us a long time to convince the voters that we needed a new jail here, but the jail, until that jail was replaced in the early 80s, it was a tiger cage. It was totally unconstitutional from every viewpoint. Had very little art, very little natural light, no ventilation. If you put the guy in the jail at 3 in the morning, everyone woke up. It was steel on steel on steel, bang, bang.
Right.
So yeah, that was Bundy's first stop in Colorado after we got rid of habeas corpus and brought him from Utah.
The library was on the 2nd floor, right? That he escaped.
The courtroom and the law library were one room. It was a big room on the 2nd floor. You're right. Okay. The front of it was the judge's bench, and then there were the tables for the defense and the prosecution. And there was a few seats for the audience, and then there were rows and rows of bookcases, and that constituted the law library.
But that was just over in a corner of the room somewhere.
But basically 1/3 of the room.
Okay. So
the bookshelves took up about 1/3 of the square footage of the whole courtroom, and then they went from the floor to the ceiling. They were, old oak bookcases.
Were the shelves stacked up in the room in a sense that like he could have been sitting between the shelves where nobody could see what he was doing?
Yeah, he could easily conceal himself behind the bookcases, and that's what he was doing. He asked to do some constitutionally guaranteed legal research, and there were 2 deputies assigned to guard him. They totally fucked up. They didn't think the man would bail out of the 2nd floor window. They worried that he was capable of that.
Okay, so on the front of the building left window, or was it on the
on the front of the building? Yeah, if you're looking at the front of the building, it'd be the window on the top of that. The first night that he was gone, he broke into a cabin up Castle Creek. It was owned by a man named Fritz Kaiser.
Okay.
And the investigators that Bundy had broken into this cabin by lifting fingerprints, and they confirmed that he stole some food and a rifle. So we knew which direction he had gone, and we knew that he was now armed. That was day one. That was after the first night.
Sure.
And then he basically made a 360-degree circle through the woods. He went south almost to Crested Butte, and then circled back and wound up back in Aspen a week later.
Oh, so he was lost, basically, it sounds like.
He was lost. He wasn't prepared for the wilderness. He lost a lot of weight, and he failed in his first escape attempt. He was on foot for a week. When he got back to Aspen, he stole a car, and that's when he was apprehended by a couple of Pitkin County deputies. Basically, I don't know exactly what route he took, other than he went south and was gone for a week, and then we introduced ourselves to him when he stumbled back in Aspen. So, yeah, he was thrashing around in the brush for a week in early summer.
Whereabouts approximately did you guys catch him?
We caught him after the roadblocks had been taken down. We caught him on Highway 82 heading out of town. Independence Pass had opened on Memorial Day weekend, but it's closed on the day we caught Bundy because of the rock slides. Okay. So Highway 82 was closed east of Aspen. Bundy stole a car. He was driving east. The sign said Independence Pass closed. At some point, he turned around, and a couple of deputies were responding to a domestic violence call. Bundy was driving in the opposite direction. They didn't know it was Bundy, but the car swerved. They thought they had a drunk driver. They did a 180. They pulled him over, and after a minute or two, after they'd been hunting for this dude for a week, they recognized him. After, I'd say, at least 2 minutes of talking to him, they went, holy shit, Bundy. Right. So it was really fortuitous that we caught him before he got out of our jurisdiction.
And that's
he got pulled over under suspicion of being a drunk driver. And they pulled him over. He was sitting in the car, and they approached it after a long period of time. 2 minutes could be an eternity in a situation like that. But after 2 minutes, it dawned on him, this is the guy we've been looking for a week. He had grown a beard. He had lost several pounds because he didn't eat anything. Everyone was working long shifts. We had several roadblocks up for a week. Everyone was doing stuff focused on Bundy, and some of us thought that Bundy was long gone by the end of 7 or 8 days. Sure. So it was a big high to recapture the dude. We were still looking for him. Bikini's kept the manhunt going, and it was fortuitous that we got him in a stolen vehicle. If there's a warrant for your arrest and you never drive, if you never get into a car and blow a stop sign for speed, chances are you'll never get arrested. Most warrants that are put into the computer are served on traffic stops. So if you want to avoid apprehension, don't drive. Bundy got in a car, and if he had made it over Independence Pass, hell, it was clear sailing anywhere he wanted to go. It was just luck, an awful lot of luck that we caught him here in Pitkin.
He was staying in Glenwood Springs Jail, right? And you were going back and forth and picking him up?
Yeah, he could come up to go to court, he had to. Or if, there was a session break, he could come up and use our law library.
Okay.
And like I said, our courthouse is still an antique.
Yeah.
I do not believe that they use the same cell block that they had. I don't think the federal government would allow it. This thing was built in the 1880s, and it was exactly like it was in the 1880s when I was there. But the beauty of it was inescapable. Right. There were no weak spots. It was a big metal cage.
Yeah.
It had the main door and an anti-door. And, if I ever had to go back there and go in there, which is not too often, but I did. We should have went in there more and looked around, but it's so bad back there. I wouldn't put my dog in it. But, I'd always make them all go to their individual rooms and shut their doors, so I didn't go inside there. And then, I was always pretty cautious because I know what can happen.
Yeah.
But,
how many?
He couldn't have got out of our jail. We should have kept him, really.
How many rooms were down there? Do you remember?
You mean individual cell?
Yeah.
I think it was 8.
Okay.
It was terrible. You would not have enjoyed it in there. Bundy seemed to like it a lot. I mean, he never complained about anything. And we got their food. We didn't cook in jail like some places. We had a deal with Holiday Inn.
Oh, okay.
And they would fix up like 6, 8, whatever meals they needed. And a deputy would have to go get them and bring them back. I've done that. And I'll be honest with you, Chris. What turned out to be great turned into a nightmare.
Yeah.
Okay, after he got away again and killed those girls, it affected me.
Yeah, for sure.
It affected me, even though it wasn't my fault in any way. Okay, I wasn't involved in it. It affected me. And I've carried the guilt of killing that bastard that night ever since then. And I promise you, the victims' families in Florida wish the hell I had them.
Oh, yeah.
But I just couldn't. I couldn't do it. It would have been murder. I don't murder people.
Yeah.
I save people.
Right. Right.
If I'd have shot him that night, it would have been the end of everything.
Probably.
I might have been able to get away with it, but you know in your heart what you've done and what you didn't do.
Well,
now I got this guy that was on the scene of the arrest up there on the path, taking credit for everything. Mental.
Okay.
Okay. I think he's even parlayed a federal job out of that.
Jeez.
Which is fine with me. I don't, it stands to reason. I don't like the federal government anymore. I like the Aspen police. But the Aspen police gave him a award was nothing but an insult to us. And I've got witnesses. A lot of these people are still around.
Yeah, for sure.
In fact, the most important witness is still around. Don Davis, the guy I work for. He lives in Utah.
Where is he really?
Don Davis. I haven't been able to track him down yet, but I'm going to. But Don, Quirk is acting like we were stupid and hiding behind our police car, and he had to go up and take control. I'm going to tell you something, Chris.
Yeah.
It'd be a cold day in hell for anybody to walk into my car stop and take over.
Right.
If somebody came up and said, I'm the FBI, and, I might back away. If somebody came up and was a state investigator that I trusted, I might back away. But him, I'd have kicked him in the nuts.
Right.
Seriously. Then he claims that he took him out. He's claiming everything I said. I lost my cuffs that night. Okay, I cuffed him with a brand new pair. In fact, he's the first one cuffed with them. I had a bunch of us in order new handcuffs, Smith & Wesson. They were expensive.
Yeah.
I think I paid $35 for those things. And, one day I came in and they're all in our mailboxes. And I took my old cuffs out, put them in, and then when I got home, I took my old cuffs and put them away. They were no name, but they worked. But anyway, whenever Don Davis and Bob Braudis took Bundy away, my cuffs are on. I never did get them back. And I don't think anybody stole them. It was just a shit crazy night, okay? And I didn't get mad about it or nothing. I just got me another pair of it. Actually, I went home and got the old ones out and started using them again. But, Quirk is claiming that he lost his cuffs.
Right.
He put his cuffs on him and arrested him. Now, here's the problem with that. Okay, if you arrest somebody, it is you're obliged to do the reports and the paperwork. If what he said was true, then me and Marine would have only done supplements to his report.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, he claims he cuffed him and, all this. Don Davis would have kicked him in the nuts, too, if I didn't. I said, get the hell away, And, he's mental, but he's claiming now that he put his cuffs on me here to get him back. He's claiming that he said what I said. He's claiming, hi, Ted, as I put my gun up against his head.
Sure.
Look, there's nothing new under the sun, Chris. People have been doing this every momentous occasion in history. The boll weevils come out of the woodwork. Okay, and he's done this. And I don't hate him. I never did like him. I met him one time. But here's the fact. I never once, after I figured out what was going on, I would never call a city car out in the county. It just didn't happen. And they didn't call us into the city.
Right.
There was so much bad blood, but if you did get out there and get mixed up with them, they just lie about you, like this guy's doing. And, we got the witnesses, we got the reports. Some of the most key witnesses to this thing are still alive. Don Davis and Bob Braudis. And, you know, if he keeps researching my character in Marines, I'm poor, okay? Marine isn't.
Right.
And worst of all, she's married to a full-blooded, honest-to-God Russian.
That's what you were
saying. He's fiercely protective for her. I've talked to him before.
Yeah.
And if court causes her any consternation, you know, he's a multi-millionaire. He'll hang him up by his feet. And
it was.
I don't want to get too much into quirk because he ain't worth it, but it is becoming a problem.
Do you spell quirk just like it sounds? Like you would think?
Yeah, Quirk. Like I said, I met him one time before this happened, and, you know, I made a mental note to avoid him. He is a rookie. He had just started, and he was so cocky. And here he thought he was a big shot. And, you know, I didn't really even engage him. I was just near him. And I made a mental note, you know, avoid this guy. And I did. But where I made my mistake is I was trying to mind Bundy, and he kept calling me. And I kept answering him on my walkie-talkie, but I didn't have time to talk to him, so I said, well, just come on up here. Because half the state of Colorado was underway anyway. And that was my mistake.
Yeah.
You know, in the heat of the moment, you know, I couldn't talk to the guy on the radio and mind Bundy properly. And I said, come on up here. And that's what caused the whole thing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know, and I mean, in my entire 15-year career, I had to quit after 15 years due to health reasons. But after all that time, was never, ever one time accused of lying about anything. And I'll tell you why. I didn't lie.
Right. And
that's why I got all the convictions I got. Plea deals, which I wouldn't have done, but they did, is, you know, everything in there was true. And they got to see what I said. And Bundy read all our reports with his lawyer. He was sharp as a straight razor, and he didn't have any problem with them.
Yeah.
You know, Bundy would have been, you know, like I said, he's my number one witness. He would have cackled and took delight in burning Marine and I down. I mean, he would have, you know, really been happy. And he didn't say a word.
Yeah, so there you go. Boom.
Him and his attorney. See, escape is pretty serious in Colorado.
Yeah.
I think it carries from 6 to 10 years. He would have done more a time for the escape and the auto theft because he was going to get found not guilty. He's going to be acquitted on the murder charge. So he still would have had that. He would have never beat that. So when he got done in Utah, he would have had to come to Colorado to serve his time. 6 to 10.
Yeah, yeah.
And anything else you do while you're out there, you know, goes like car theft. So I would imagine he would have probably gotten 8 years for what he did. That's just with the car theft and escape. But
yeah, they were. That was one of the reasons they were. I know that they were so keen on getting him out there to Pitkin County is because it looked like he was going to get a conviction on the Carol DeRanche attempted kidnapping thing, but he was only.
He was doing time.
Yeah.
He was actually in prison, and they extradited. I think, you know, if there's any heroes in Pitkin County, it's Mike Fisher, the detective that worked it. Okay, he never got enough credit. You know, all we did was their jobs. You know, DUI investigation turned into a felony car stop. That's it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, but we did do our jobs. This guy running around taking credit for it. You know, there's nothing doing with the content. You go back to the Lincoln assassination, Kennedy, you know, catching Booth. You know, everybody comes out of the woodwork and wants to grab a piece of it. And it's just, you know, it's just the way it is. So.
You were talking about the guy that stepped outside the courtroom to have a smoke when Ted disappeared.
Yeah, Dave Westerland. He was a deputy.
That's right. Okay.
Really nice guy, really personable, but he was lackadaisical. Okay. And you know, I like Dave. I was a little disappointed in him when he let Bundy escape, but shit happens. I mean, he didn't have the regard for Bundy. I did. Sure. I mean, I never got near him unless I searched him. I didn't strip search him, but man, I knew what his scrotum felt like because I wasn't taking chances. You know, he could walk through an office, pick up a sharp pencil, and kill you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
you know, and if he wanted to, he'd have done it. He'd have drove it right through your eye socket.
Oh yeah.
And I wasn't going to lose my life to that asshole.
I don't blame you.
You know, and I'll tell you, I did during the interview. It slipped out. I called him a cockroach. And they asked me about him, and I know a little bit about him. And I just said I didn't like him. And why didn't you like him? I said, well, because he hurt women.
Yeah.
And he hurt, you know, anybody that hurts women or children or even anybody weaker than them is a mortal enemy of mine. And I just, you know, I hated him. I knew he did it.
Right.
He didn't act like he wasn't even worried about it. You charge me with that, and I was innocent, I'd be pounding on the bars wanting to talk to the detectives, you know, God. And he was just having a good time.
Oh, yeah.
Just like your film footage showed. That's the way he was.
Yeah.
Everything, you know, he was so big on himself, thought so much of himself, we were never going to touch him.
He was addicted to being in front of that camera. I mean, it's so obvious.
Well, he truly thought he was a celebrity.
Yeah.
I mean, he really did. He had a fan club. I know he did.
Yeah, oh yeah.
He got mail from people. You know, he got a lot of it up there at the other jail, but we got letters for him. And you know, when he escaped, when he took off out that window, we didn't know if there was a car down there waiting for him. And if there was, they might have made it out of the county before we locked it down. I mean, it took a few minutes to get organized. And, you know, there at the end, we decided he was gone. Even I did. So shit, you know, it's been a week. God, he can't be, you know. I mean, but they were finding little clues like cabins that had been broken into. Of course, you can't really tell who did it unless you know what you're looking for. But, you know, cabins get broken into up there all the time.
Right.
You know, so, but it turned out it was him. And, you know, I told you that some civilian that was searching for him talked to him.
Oh, yeah.
And didn't know him.
Yeah.
And we found out, and Dick Keenan said, well, let's just not talk about that, you know, and it had embarrassed the guy terribly, I'm sure. So we just, you know, we put it in the non whatever file, and that was it.
Yeah.
I didn't know who it was. I didn't know who did it, but that's what I heard. Dick, you know, he was just like that about everything, and he just said, well, we don't want to broadcast that, you know, because it would have been really embarrassing for the guy.
Yeah.
I don't know how I could miss him, but he walked right up face-to-face and talked to him. Bundy said, well, I'm just out here camping he said he was from Seattle or something. I'm just camping out here. I said, all right.
Wow.
That's weird, isn't it?
Well, maybe it's because, you know, I mean, you wouldn't expect somebody to be that bold to just walk right up to you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, that was Bundy. He operated that way. You know, most of the time he would go into a bar, he'd have a cast on his leg.
Yeah.
And crutches. And his ploy, he would ask some hot babe, can you help me? And you know, people said he was a good-looking guy. I never thought he was. Right. Any better looking than any other person, but that was one of his ploys.
Sure.
Or he'd go in there with a big armload of heavy books or ski equipment, anything, and that's how he got him out.
Yeah.
Now, if I walked into a bar in crutches and said, would you come help me? You know, they'd say, yeah, I'll help you, and they'd kick me in the ass. It wouldn't work now. After Bundy did what he did, things changed. You know, women became a little wiser.
Yeah.
I mean, we were just off of the 60s, man. Everybody's nuts. I was nuts. You know, it was a different time. It was a different place.
Did you ever go up to the actual Wildwood, like where her room was, Caryn Campbell's room was, or did you do any investigation?
No, I wasn't involved in it. I just started. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
I did see where the guy called and saw the magpie, and but she was long gone. And I actually kind of remember when Bundy showed up because everything changed around the sheriff's department. I mean, we were really, you know, at first we were really cautious with them. I never quit being. I mean, I would not be in his presence. It was like thoroughly searched him because I didn't trust him.
Yeah.
Some of the, not everybody's like me.
Yeah.
Some people got pretty lax around him. And, you just couldn't do it. Bundy, they said, what do you think he escaped for? And I said, I think three reasons. I think one, things are piling up behind him. They're linking him to other things. And, two, he liked to make fools out of us. And three, he could do it.
Right.
That's probably it. That's probably on the nailhead. What he did it because he could do it. Western gave him too easy of an opportunity.
Right.
Now, how he didn't break his back and his legs when he hit the ground, I'll never know.
Yeah, I've been up there, and that's
some bitch must be made out of rubber because he did sprain his ankle really bad.
Yeah, yeah.
And that might be another reason he couldn't get out of the valley. It injured his ankle.
Yeah.
Shit, that would have killed me.
Right.
Yeah.
Me too.
I'm serious.
I know.
It would have hurt me. I would have been laying there waiting for the ambulance.
Yeah.
That second floor window was, the ceilings are never 15 feet.
Mm-hmm.
This place they used to hang people on the lobby of the courthouse in the winter. And, I don't think I was there above the third floor. I don't know what was up there, but the district courtroom and the law library, which is right off the back of it, was on the second floor on the end of the building that led to Glenwood Springs.
Right.
And, good God, Chris, I'm 65 years old. And luckily I still have a little bit of a memory, but it ain't great.
Well,
I'd hate to say something that wasn't true and, start something that, the truth is the only thing it'll do.
I thought it was interesting what you said about how David apparently, because I can picture it. I've been up there. He just stepped outside to have a smoke outside the courtroom.
Yeah,
because he couldn't smoke.
We've been doing that. He's been doing that. Bundy was timing it. This is what Bundy said, and after they interviewed him, and he would time him, and everybody's got a slightly different story. I understood that he'd been working on this. Now, these windows had been in there since the 1800s.
Yeah.
And, I understood that they were both painted shut.
Okay.
And he just, every time he'd go out in the hall, he'd work on this one with something. He got it working. Now, it may have been working just fine, and he just pulled it open and jumped, but that's not the story I had.
Okay.
And, like I said, Chris, we didn't know if he jumped in a car sitting out front of the courthouse. We didn't know anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
You read the old 30s movies, the first two Frankenstein movies?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's the feeling we had when he was running loose out there.
Oh.
We had a monster on the loose. We knew what he was capable of, and we were terrified. I was deeply concerned about what he was doing.
Yeah.
Fortunately, all he was doing was trying to climb the mountain and leave. But, you got to admit it yourself. Aspen is a target-rich environment.
Oh, sure.
For somebody like him. I mean, there's, hot babes just gravitate. I dealt with them every day. I got to where I didn't even notice them.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were just there. A lot of them were looking for fortune hunters and ski bunnies and hippies and you name it. And I didn't mess with any of them.
What do you think happened with the Glenwood Springs breakout? What happened with that?
All right, I'll give you what I know. You can't quote me because I don't know a lot about it. I went into the office one day right after he broke out, and I was, commiserating about it. And Don Davis looked at me and quietly said, "We think he had help." And then he put his finger up to his lips like a shush.
Mm-hmm.
And that automatically told me that it wasn't to be, told to anybody. And I figured, well, if I tell anybody, I might mess up an investigation. So I just held it but didn't use it. And, personally, I don't believe Bundy got out of that hole.
Okay.
I think I told you earlier that there was a light in the photo that was laying, like the lamp, part of the light was laying in the hole, switched on. That light bulb was a regular light bulb. And you measure that light bulb on your computer and the circumference of that hole to give you a good idea how big it really was.
Well,
and, Bundy could have done it, but I don't think so.
Well, right. Like you and me, we looked at that the other day, and it looked like...
Yeah, right, yeah.
God, I mean, it looked like it was maybe 12 inches, maybe?
He had to be a contortionist of the first order. I think more than likely, this is my humble opinion, Chris, so don't quote me, but I think he probably bribed the jailer.
Okay.
And I think he walked out the door. I think the jailer went up toward the floor up in the upstairs apartment and knocked the window out. Bundy was gone for I don't know how many hours could he even do it. It's ridiculous, I thought he was in a better place. We'd have kept him in our jail. He couldn't have broke out. There's no way. Our jail was ancient, and it was just an iron box, period.
But it was simple. It was simple and solid.
Whoever the genius was that put a hole in the ceiling of the cell with a light fixture in it, worries me.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're really that lame, what the hell can I say?
Well,
I thought probably the families in Florida sued that county. I would.
When I showed you that picture of that sheriff the other day on that video or whatever, was that the sheriff as far as you know, like the sheriff?
Yeah, at that time, yeah, he was new. He looked like Dan Blocker, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the sheriff.
Edward Hogue.
Yeah, you're right. That's it. My memory's kind of fading. That's why I want to get this stuff on record. But yeah, I was Ed Hogue, and I never talked to him. I don't know how he felt about it. I would have died.
Well, there's
if that was my deal, I would have died. I couldn't have lived with it. I had enough time with it without being involved.
Do you remember a guy named Hart at all that worked down there?
Give me your first name.
Oh, geez. They called him. He's referred to as Undersheriff Hart. Can't remember his name. I'll pull it up here.
He might have been Whitmire's undersheriff.
Okay.
I'm kind of remembering him. He was a tall, thin guy that was always half shit-faced.
God, it sounds like those guys were all drunk all the time.
Well, listen, Whitmire, we had a kid that ran up into the hill, and the little kid was, not right. And when he saw the searchers, he'd hide from them, and they couldn't find him. This went on for 2.5 days. Up in the mountains, a little kid won't last. And they finally caught him, and they had a medic on the chopper, a lady that was supposed to look after him and check him out on the way to the hospital. And Whitmire threw her off the chopper and took her place. And he got a lot of shit over that.
Oh, my God.
People were incensed. He wanted to be seen getting off that chopper with that kid, And this is right before I started. And I was still hearing flack about that. The day I started, I heard about it. It's just shitty. And, throw a medic off her own helicopter and take her place. Well, listen, he caught hell for it. And I told you this, I think it was Hart's girlfriend is the one that ran over my foot that day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was weird.
The reason I ask you is I have this transcript. I could just send it to you, but it's one of the cops out here, one of the investigators. There's a transcript of his phone call with Undersheriff Hart. And
oh, okay.
And it's kind of interesting because you can hear this guy sweating bullets over the transcript, just like on the paper. You can hear this guy Jerry's like, well, what happened, man? He's like, oh, well, the ceiling thing was broken. We couldn't get a welder out here, and ha, nervous.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. 3 girls had to die horrible deaths. I mean, just rotten. The worst deaths you can imagine.
Well,
because they couldn't fix the fucking light.
Well, and he makes it sound like I'm looking for it while I'm talking to you. He makes it sound like, they literally could not find a local person, like a contractor, to come weld a lid over the top of that.
That is bullshit. Glenn, you've been to Glenwood Springs.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know there's electricians there, right?
Oh, of course.
Or welders or anything you need. I don't, I would just hang myself, okay? Or shoot myself. If that was my responsibility. I couldn't live with it. Seriously. Letting him get away and do what he did, I could, I feel bad enough that I didn't shoot him when I didn't even have any reason to.
Right. Right.
If I'd have had foresight or knowledge of the future and I knew what was going to happen, I'd put one of those explosive 357 rounds right through his fucking head instantly.
Right.
And took the heat. I just would have had to make sure I didn't take Marine out with it. And then hit him at kind of an angle like above his left ear.
God, I want to
shoot him kind of forward. Anyway,
I gotta send this to you. You'll just get a kick out of it. Like it's the weakest,
cool.
the weakest alibi I've ever heard in my life, and you can hear the guy.
Well, hey, I don't blame the Utah officials. We took him out of a Utah prison. He was doing time. He'd done a lot of time for that kidnapping where that girl got away from him. Mm-hmm. And they let us have him in good faith. And, he broke out twice while we had him. What's that say for us?
Well,
look, man, after the day he escaped, I hung my head. I was crestfallen. I was embarrassed. I was worried. It was just terrible. We lived under that feeling for a week. I mean, the deputies were just beat. I mean, we couldn't take anymore. That's why Dick started shutting it down.
Jerry says, "How did he get out of the cell, Sheriff?" And he says, "Well, take a light fixture out of there years ago, and we've never been able to get the damn welders in here. They don't like to come in and work." And Jerry says, "Uh-huh." And he says, "We can't get the welders in here to fix it up." Well, he just went through there. It's about a foot square, 12 inches. And he said, "Well,
it was too big."
12?
I actually went there and looked at it. I had to, and my only thought was, I couldn't get my head through that hole, But that was just me. I never bought it, Chris. Never bought it.
Right.
And with what Don Davis intimated to me, man to man, I, really didn't buy it. But like I said, nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
Bundy had resources. He had groupies. He had fans. He got some information out to somebody, and they sent some cash to him. And I think he paid that little asshole that was. I met the guy several times, and he was like, he reminded me of Quirk, maybe worse. And he was a jailer. He wanted to be a big shot, deputy, and he had to work his way through the jail and all that shit. I mean, he never showed a sign of any remorse ever. I think he was just sitting back thinking about when he got free again, he could start over.
Yeah, zero empathy.
Oh, he was a sociopath of the first order. And I'm not a psychiatrist. I took abnormal psych in college because I had to. But I know a little bit about it because I actually took it in college. But
I mean, the guy could. They say he could compartmentalize stuff so easily that it was miraculous. It was like he could like put something over in the corner and forget about it and pretend to be somebody else.
He'd pull it out when he wanted it. Yeah. That's it.
So easily.
I'll tell you honestly, if I hit a damn squirrel, I go into depression. Okay, that's how much I hate to hurt things. I'll flip my car over to miss an animal in the road, almost. And this guy could butcher little human beings like they were mannequins. Yeah. He didn't just stop on them when he killed them. He kept going. I mean, he is a sick SOB. Yeah.
What? Well, what time of night it was that? Do you remember?
I'm just, you're talking to an old man that's not really well. I would guess that went down around 8 or 8:30. I'd have to see the reports.
Oh, okay.
I put this thing in a file cabinet and locked it and put it in a room and locked the door. Long time ago. And it's just now I've opened it up and, a lot of things are coming back. But I can tell you, Bob Braudis and Don Davis would not allow that little cockroach to cuff Bundy. Davis would have said, "Get away from him," and he'd have went over and cuffed him if I couldn't, but I did it.
Good for
And
you.
he's such a liar, and his lies aren't going to hold together. As soon as I talk to Bob, I'll be able to tell you some things.
Do you remember, was it dark? Well, it must have been dark outside if he was trying.
Oh, it was very dark, very dark. No moon, a lot of stars, but it was dark. You know, he could not have proceeded in the condition he was in. His lights were out. He couldn't get them on. You know, you try to drive over Independence Pass in dark like that is, you ain't going to make it.
Yeah.
Maybe with the moon out, he might. But that night, no, he couldn't have gone. Yeah, he was done. He was done before we ever got to him.
I wonder.
I do know that I'm pretty sure we were transporting Bundy before he escaped.
Okay.
I think Dick got the feeling that people were not, you know, doing security like they should. You know, I'd practically strip search that bastard every time I got near him.
Yeah.
Because I knew that he could pick up a pen or a pencil and kill me with it. Easy. A pencil is one of the most deadly weapons you can find.
Oh, God.
Just drive it through somebody's eye socket and into the brain, and they're gone.
Well, and when you remember, I mean, because you started in 75, I think you said, he was extradited over there in 76.
I remember when he showed up. I remember there was a lot of HIPAA law and orders given. One order was no girl could have anything to do with me, no female.
Okay.
In other words, our female deputies could not transport him, they could not guard him, they could not go near him. And, you know, Maria backed that up.
Do you,
the only time she ever saw him was the night we caught him.
Do you remember who brought him in? Was it Utah cops or?
You know, honestly, he just was there one day. I knew I knew we had a dangerous special prisoner coming in for a murder trial. But much more than that at that time, you know, I mean, we had a lot of rules that were passed right up front. And people start, you know, getting lax. And you can't get lax with Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
I don't think Western would ever searched him once.
Right.
But I'm going to tell you, whenever he saw me come down the hall, he just knew. He just put his arms out. Because I wouldn't get killed by this son bitch, you know, and let him escape. Even though he planned to one night. But, you know, I didn't trust him any more than I trust a damn rattlesnake. Seriously.
Did you?
I really.
When he
Go
came
ahead.
into town, was he immediately went to Pitkin County with you guys? But at what point did you guys start taking him down to Glenwood Springs and keeping him down there?
I can only give you a fair guess.
Well, that's all.
It was, you know, I think it was probably a month or a month and a half before he ran.
Okay.
And, you know, I think Dick Heenis saw what was going on around there. They were, you know, you're around something enough, you get used to it, right?
Yeah.
And they were not doing due diligence like they should have been. You know, I was one of the few that did. There's a couple others. But they wouldn't search him when they took him out of the cell block. They wouldn't, you know, shit. I mean, you just can't do that with them. And, you know, they basically, it's like having a pet rattlesnake or something. They just got, it just became part of the life, and they just start, you know, like I said, I don't think Western ever searched him once.
Wow.
And he knew that he could not get in my presence for anything unless I felt him down. And he had a jail jumpsuit. I made him unbutton it down to the waist. I would reach in around his waistband and feel him. I know what his nuts felt like. And, I mean, I searched the hell out of him every time. I knew what he was capable of. I don't know why nobody else understood that.
It's.
I'm not saying everybody. I'm saying certain people just didn't appreciate who he was. You know, the first thing I did whenever I got time, I started looking up the case and him, and there was already bulletins coming in from other states about him, you know, in cases they were working. And, well, we didn't have the internet back then. It was still a dream too, like DNA, but they'd mail out a catalog for the western states, and these detectives that were stumped on something would put whatever pertinent facts they could in a little report, and the other detectives could read it and say, "Oh, we know who that is," or "That's like somebody we got," or something, and that's how we got it.
Yeah.
The detectives used to get this circular, and all it was open cases that were baffling people. And that's how they linked Bundy with this poor lady in Snowmass.
Right.
The only thing they had on him really was a gas receipt in Glenwood Springs, but it was on the day she came up missing.
Right.
And I guess the judge felt that was enough, and he issued an extradition warrant.
Why do you?
And I'll tell you, those people in Utah had to be pissed. I would have been.
Oh yeah. The guys I've talked to were super pissed. Jerry Thompson.
Well, if I could meet him and talk to him, I'd tell him. I was crestfallen when that happened. I mean, it was like somebody in your family did something terrible.
Yeah.
I was surprised because I talked to everybody that came through my roadblocks, all of them, and nobody said anything. Everybody was cooperated. I'd open their trunks, search their car. Some of the people I made open their hoods. And
let's take a look.
I know the second night I got sent up on Root Eye Reservoir by myself with a blazer and a 12-gauge pump gun and one of those highway patrol motorcycle hats. And I was standing there. I had one lane blocked off. And I was standing in front of my blazer. And, when you pulled up on me, you had to wonder what the hell was going on. I just told him, and I had that pump gun in my hand the whole night.
Right.
And I think I had my jacket on. I always got cold up there at night, but I'm sure these people, what the hell is this? We had really strange overhead lights on our vehicles. They were like, they flashed like Christmas lights. And, this big, ugly Scotsman standing there with the shotgun.
Right.
But like everybody cooperated, like I said, nobody ever said, "You're a bunch of assholes," which I felt like we were, I mean, I took it personal.
Right.
I'm sorry, but that's just the way I'm built. That was a painful failure on our part. I was asked in the interview why I thought he escaped, and I told him, number one is he could. He's the kind of guy that he figured it out, and he did it. Number two, he enjoyed making us look stupid. He'd do it every chance he got if he could. And three, all these back cases were starting to pile up behind him.
That's interesting.
And he'd have been getting tried all over the planet if he'd have been with us. He'd have been convicted of our murder, possibly. Plus, he'd have been convicted of auto theft and escape. The other charge, he would have taken precedence over that, and he would have been shipped to another county someplace. And he knew he was never going to get out. We were finding out more stuff every day, every single day. We'd get inquiries about him from mainly western states.
Right.
I feel bad enough that I didn't shoot the son of a bitch. That's good enough for me.
You know who else said that? And this will make you proud. Bob Hayward said that. He told me that same thing. He said he went to Florida at the trials, and one of the girls, I think it was Lisa Levy, the girl that got the bite on her butt, she came up to him. She came up to him and said, "How come you didn't shoot the son of a bitch?" And he said, "Well, I didn't know who he was at the time, and give me about right now, and I'll shoot him."
Well, I'm sure they would probably say that to me too, and I wouldn't blame them. But Chris, on my honor, that's about all the hell I got left.
No, that's great. That's great.
He gave no cause. Okay, I would have had to murder him, and I don't do that.
Right.
I mean, I'll shoot somebody in a heartbeat. I got no problem with it, but it's got to be righteous.
It's got to be
And
righteous.
that would have not been righteous, and I don't think Marine could have covered it. You know, she's not that way.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm not either. I mean, I'm not that way either. I mean, I can see other deputies on our department, several of them. If they'd have been together and they caught him like that, they might have shot him.
Right.
But, you know, if you take the law in your own hands, you aren't the law. You're just another goddamn criminal.
That's
you know,
awesome.
We got to give the legal system a chance to work.
I like it.
I know they have extrajudicial killings every day, but you know, it just wasn't my style. I wouldn't do it then. I won't do it now.
I love to hear that, you know, people out there have a line they won't cross. You know, that's you know, because that's important.
You know, I carry the mantle of righteousness, and I still have it, and nothing's happened to make me put it down. If I'd have popped him that night, you know, I would have eaten myself up.
Yeah.
You know, I'd probably wind up sucking on the end of the gun because it would not have been righteous. He needed it, and I would have done it. And if I could see the future, I still would have done it.
Well,
I'd have taken the heat for it, but I swear to God, he gave no cause. He was like a damn. You ever see a rabbit sitting?
Yeah.
Trying not to be noticed. That's what he was doing. Sitting in his car, he didn't move a single muscle. He put his hands down on his knees, and especially after I put the gun upside his head and said, "Hey, Ted," or "Hello, Ted," or something like that. "Welcome back, Ted." He never even blinked, and I wouldn't either. I swear to God, if somebody put a magnet upside my head like that, I'd shit. You'd have to clean my underwear out.
Oh, for real. And you said he had Band-Aids or something going across the top of his nose?
Yeah, he had two medical tape bandages. They weren't bandages, they were just tape. He had them across his nose, the ridge of his nose. You know, and I took his hat off the very first second. You know, he didn't need it. Didn't fit him anyway. And then a few seconds later, take that tape off your face. And he did. He didn't argue. But he got really combative at one point with his mouth. He said, "I'm a fisherman. I'm going home. I'm going to have your jobs." And I remember exactly what I said back to him. "You wouldn't want them." And, you know, I mean, I'm a smart ass at times. I said, "You wouldn't want our badge." And, you know, we knew what he was by then, but, I mean, he did not go, you know, I mean, he gave us a verbal tongue lashing. And everything happened so fast, and, you know, I don't have little particulars like I used to.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's been
I know he claimed at first to be a fisherman. There was not a sign of fishing gear any around him. Nothing. That car was empty. And nothing in the glove box. He didn't look like a fisherman. He didn't sound like a fisherman. And he wasn't going to get home the way he was going in. He said he was headed home, and he was tired, dirty, and wanted to be left alone. And, you know, we didn't leave him alone.
That must have seemed really suspicious, too, you know, that time of day.
Well,
I don't know.
I'll be honest with you, Chris. I was surprised he even bothered. Okay, at that point, we knew who he was. I don't know. He was just trying to act like he wasn't in, but it wasn't working. He sounded like Bundy. He looked like Bundy. Smelled like Bundy. It was Bundy. And, you know, I was absolutely certain. This little quirk says I didn't know who he was. I'm sorry, but I was around you too much. Yeah. Way too much. You know, I talked to him face-to-face many times. I knew his posture. I knew his inflecting moves. You know, what he's doing is just, I'm sorry to say, he's just bare-ass lying.